Hi everyone. Today I am going to explain the movie The Call of the Wild, which was released in 2020. The story is set in the late 19th century, during a time known for the famous gold rush. In this period, the Yukon region in northwest Canada was believed to be rich with enormous amounts of hidden gold beneath its land. Because of these rumors, people from many different countries traveled to the Yukon, hoping to discover gold and become wealthy. However, the journey is extremely difficult due to the harsh climate, freezing temperatures, and endless snow-covered mountains. To survive and move through this dangerous terrain, most travelers depend on large, powerful dogs to pull sleds and carry their belongings. The main character of the movie is Buck, a large and strong dog who is a crossbreed between a Saint Bernard and a Scotch Collie. Buck lives a peaceful and luxurious life in Santa Clara, California, with his owner Judge Miller and the Judge's family. He is cheerful, friendly, and full of energy, and everyone in the household loves him dearly. Buck is treated more like a family member than a pet, and is allowed to do almost anything he wants. His impressive size and strength make him well known around town, and he is admired by many. One day, while Judge Miller's birthday is being celebrated, Buck goes to the market with the housemaid. As they walk through the busy streets, Buck becomes playful and starts chasing a cyclist, causing excitement and chaos. During this moment, a suspicious man notices Buck and becomes interested in him, secretly planning to kidnap and sell him for money. Back at the Miller household, the family prepares a large and delicious feast for the birthday celebration. The cooks hide the food, knowing that Buck would happily eat everything if given the chance. To avoid trouble, Judge Miller sends Buck outside so he will not ruin the meal. Later, the family gathers in the front yard to take a group photograph before eating. Unfortunately, Buck manages to reach the table before anyone else and completely destroys the food. For the first time in his life, Judge Miller becomes extremely angry with Buck. As punishment, he leaves Buck outside the house at night. This moment of abandonment allows the stranger from the market to lure Buck toward him. The man traps Buck in a box, receives payment, and takes him away in a horse-drawn cart. Buck barks loudly, hoping his master will hear him, but his cries go unanswered. Buck is later placed on a train and transported far away from his home. The next day, the crate is opened by a cruel man who beats Buck when he tries to escape. Through this painful experience, Buck learns an important lesson. Fighting back only leads to more suffering. He chooses to remain still and obedient. Buck notices several other dogs locked in cages nearby. Because Buck is too large to fit inside a cage, the man ties him to a pole. When the man steps away, Buck manages to break free and runs, only to realize that he is trapped on a ship. There is no escape. Eventually, the ship arrives in the Yukon. The area is crowded with gold seekers, yet none of them seem to have found any real fortune. Buck, who has lived his entire life in the warm and dry climate of California, struggles to adjust to the freezing cold and deep snow. Everything feels unfamiliar to him. When snow begins to fall, Buck breaks loose from his rope and runs happily through the area, amazed by the environment. However, unlike in his hometown, people here are annoyed by his playful behavior and treat him harshly. During this moment, Buck accidentally bumps into an old man named John Thornton. Unlike the others, John does not scold him. Buck notices that John has dropped his harmonica and returns it to him, showing intelligence and kindness. John is impressed and immediately feels a connection with Buck. But before they can interact further, Buck is taken away by his handlers. Soon after, Buck is put up for sale along with other dogs. He is clearly the largest and strongest among them. Although he tries to make friends, the other dogs remain distant and unfriendly. Eventually, a French-Canadian mail carrier named Perrault purchases Buck to help pull a sled used for delivering mail across the Yukon. Perrault introduces Buck to his partner, Francois, who comments on Buck's size and strength. Buck also meets the rest of the sled dogs, led by a fierce and aggressive husky named Spitz. Perrault hopes that Buck's power will finally allow him to complete his deliveries on time, as the journey ahead is long and dangerous, stretching nearly 500 miles. Although the dogs do not understand the details, the exhausting journey soon begins. Buck struggles at first with the snow, the harness, and the fast pace. At one point, he becomes distracted by a rabbit, changes direction suddenly, and falls off a cliff, nearly pulling the sled down with him. Spitz mocks and growls at Buck, but Perrault encourages him to continue. By the end of the day, Buck is completely exhausted. The dogs stop at a camp for the night. Buck does not know how to sleep in the snow and becomes extremely cold. He attempts to sleep beside Francois for warmth but is chased away. As Buck curls up alone, he sees a magnificent black wolf watching over him. This wolf represents a spiritual guide, symbolizing Buck's connection to the wild and the beginning of his transformation, and it will continue to guide him throughout his journey. The following day, Buck finds that running has become much more challenging as the sled team enters a vast stretch of slippery ice. Each step is dangerous, and the dogs must be extremely careful not to fall. That night, the dogs are given only one fish each as their meal. Spitz, the cruel and selfish leader, threatens another dog and forcefully steals its food. Seeing this injustice, Buck quietly gives his own fish to the weaker dog and walks away without expecting anything in return. The other dogs witness this act of kindness and begin to look at Buck with admiration and respect. On another exhausting day, the dogs grow extremely thirsty after hours of pulling the sled. They find a small frozen puddle, but Spitz refuses to let the others drink from it. Buck steps in and breaks the ice himself, creating a new puddle so the entire pack can drink. This action earns Buck even more respect from the other dogs, while Spitz becomes increasingly angry and jealous as he feels his authority slipping away. As the journey continues, Buck slowly adapts to the harsh conditions. He learns how to run efficiently in the snow and pull the sled with strength and rhythm. Because of Buck's improvement, the sled begins moving faster than it ever has before. One day, the team reaches a frozen lake that they must cross. Francois carefully steps onto the ice to check for cracks, but suddenly falls through into the freezing water. Perrault rushes to save her, but Buck reacts faster. He leaps into the icy lake and reaches Francois, though he soon becomes disoriented beneath the surface. At that critical moment, Buck sees the Black Wolf, his spiritual guardian, guiding him towards safety. Following the vision, Buck manages to pull Francois out of the water and back onto solid ice. For a moment, Perrault loses sight of Buck and panics, fearing the worst. Seconds later, Buck emerges beside him, safe and strong. Overwhelmed with relief, Perrault hugs Buck tightly while Spitz watches from a distance, filled with jealousy and hatred. That evening, Francois, Perrault, and Buck sit together by the campfire. Francois explains that Perrault's greatest dream is to deliver the mail to the depot on time, something he has never been able to accomplish. She tells Buck that Perrault truly believes in him and trusts that only Buck can help make his dream come true. From afar, Spitz watches their bond grow, allowing envy to take control of him. Later that night, Spitz confronts Buck in front of the entire pack and attacks him violently. Exhausted from the journey and the fight, Buck eventually collapses. The other dogs are too afraid to stand up to Spitz, but one brave dog begins barking at Buck, urging him to rise and fight back. Hearing the call, Buck forces himself to stand. With newfound determination, he launches himself at Spitz and defeats him within moments. The pack celebrates Buck's victory as Spitz silently retreats and disappears into the night. When Perrault and Francois wake up the next morning, Spitz is gone. Without wasting time, they prepare to continue their journey. Buck naturally moves to the front of the pack as the new leader. Although Perrault briefly attempts to assign another dog as lead, the pack refuses to follow anyone but Buck. Realizing this, Perrault places the leader's collar on Buck, accepting him as the true head of the team. With Buck leading, the sled travels faster than ever before. Midway through the journey, the team encounters a powerful snowstorm. Perrault orders Buck to turn left, but Buck sees the Black Wolf on the right and senses danger ahead. Trusting his instincts, Buck disobeys the command and changes direction, ultimately saving everyone from disaster. After enduring countless hardships, the team finally reaches the mail depot on time. Perrault is overjoyed as he delivers the letters to the waiting residents. Among the letters is one written by John Thornton to his wife, in which he reflects on the loss of his son. When John hands over the letter, he recognizes Buck. Shortly after, Perrault receives news that the mail route is being replaced by the telegraph system, meaning his job is no longer needed. Heartbroken, he is forced to sell the dogs, leaving Buck without a master once again. The dogs are purchased by a man named Hal, who plans to use them to transport heavy luggage. Hal loads the sled with an unreasonable amount of cargo and even places a woman on top, making the weight unbearable. Despite warnings, Hal refuses to reduce the load and orders his brother-in-law, Charles, to whip the dogs. John Thornton intervenes, warning Hal of an approaching snowstorm and advising him to stop. Hal ignores the advice, pushing the dogs until they collapse from exhaustion. Furious, Hal pulls out a gun and prepares to shoot Buck, but John steps in and stops him. Enraged, Hal abandons Buck with John and continues his journey with the remaining dogs. John takes Buck home and nurses him back to health. One evening at a bar, Hal confronts John again, blaming him for losing the dogs. Buck leaps to John's defense, driving Hal away. The next day, John shares the story of his late son and his dream of traveling to a place beyond all known maps. He invites Buck to join him on this journey, and together they set off by rowboat. After several days of travel, they are forced to abandon the damaged boat and continue on foot. Eventually, they reach an old abandoned cabin deep in the wilderness. At night, Buck hears wolves howling in the forest, but John calms him, explaining that they are Buck's ancestors. The next day, while bathing in the river, John discovers a piece of gold. He has finally found the legendary treasure of the Yukon. Soon after, Buck sees a white wolf running into the woods and follows her. At first, she avoids him, but Buck continues observing her pack from a distance. When one of the wolves falls into a river during a hunt, Buck rescues it. This act earns him the pack's trust, and they welcome him as one of their own. Buck begins hunting, running, and living freely with them. He has finally found his true home, and John sees this clearly. Realizing Buck belongs to the wild, John decides to return to civilization. He explains that their paths must now separate. Buck gives him one final goodbye before returning to his pack. That night, Hal tracks John down, sets his cabin on fire, and attacks him in revenge. During the struggle, John is shot. Just as Hal prepares to finish him, Buck arrives and throws Hal into the burning cabin, ending the threat forever. Buck stays beside John as he takes his final breath. The next day, the white wolf returns and leads Buck into the forest. Over time, Buck mates with her and his offspring. He becomes the leader of the pack, teaching them courage and strength. Buck is no longer owned by anyone. He is finally his own master.